handoff. Adrian up the middle, room to the 20, cuts to the left to the 25, and Adrian's loose. He splits the defense. 50, 40, 30. Goodbye, baby. Touchdown!
We bleed purple and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome. Behold, we are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores. We roar, ignite the stand.
Hey there, Vikings fans. You survived last week's show, so thank you for listening to the Purple People podcast.
We love you.
Yes, we do. We love each and every one of you. We have two of us here this evening. Adam Carlson, what's up,
Howdy.
sir? Kyle West, that is me. Kyle Smith is out for the evening, but he will be back next week.
We hope to have him back next week. We're not sure what's going on with him this week, but the show must go on, right?
That is what they say in Hollywood. And we are
Right,
nowhere near Hollywood. I'm in Iowa.
No. But welcome to the Purple People podcast anyway. This is episode number 135. Who's the Bostick?
Huh.
Don't know if you guys watched the conference championship games, but if you did, you might have seen the tight end Bostick for the Green Bay Packers make a small error in judgment when catching an onside kick.
We here at the podcast, there's two things that we love. The Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers losing. There is nothing better than watching the Packers lose.
No, I am not that guy.
Oh, I am that guy. I love seeing Green Bay take a loss.
If Minnesota's out, I don't care. I just want to watch good football.
Man,
That conference championship game was good football, even though, the Packers lost. If the Seahawks would have lost, no big deal. Either way, if it was a fantastic game, I don't care.
It was an exciting game. Exciting finish for sure.
Absolutely. But we already ruined the first quick hit with this because the Seahawks will face the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. Patriots are facing a little bit of scrutiny because of this Deflategate stuff. Don't know how much you've heard about that.
Oh, yeah, I've read a little bit of the articles on the Deflategate. I don't know.
Everything's gate. Why is everything gate?
I don't know. Gamergate. This gate, Spygate. I really don't know how much I buy into that.
I like Stargate.
I like Stargate too. We could do a Stargate podcast.
It's been reported that the Vikings have made an offer to free agent wide receiver Duron Carter. Be interesting to see how that goes. If he wants to be a member of the Minnesota Vikings, if the offer they made to him is substantial enough, or what the deal is there, but either way, seems as though the Vikings might want the guy on their team.
Well, like we tried to touch upon in last week's show, Duron is a guy that I would like to see them make an offer to, and him come into training camp, come into preseason, show us what you got, fight for a roster spot. Like, I'm pulling for him to see him do it.
It's all about competition.
Yep.
The more bodies you can have in camp to compete, the better your roster will be on the final days. If Duron Carter comes in and he can beat out Adam Thielen, congratulations, man. You got a spot on the roster.
I don't think he can do that, but...
But it's all about competition. May the better man win.
Yep.
Now, the new stadium might have to be delayed, and it may cost a little bit more to make.
Bird-free glass, right?
Bird-safe glass.
Yeah, bird-safe glass.
Could cost
Who
up
knew?
to $80 million on the new stadium and could delay construction by up to 6 months.
Ouch. $80 million?
Hey, those birds, they're worth it, I guess.
That is a lot of dough to save some pigeons.
I gotta admit, I don't care too much about birds. I know it's an asshole thing to say.
Well, they're birds. I have a really funny story about a bird.
There are other methods in bird safing the stadium that they can do. They can put a film on the outside of the other glass that's transparent. Would cost so much less, but they'd have to replace it on a somewhat regular basis. There are other options other than spending $80 million and delaying construction. So hopefully they can figure out some kind of compromise so that this new stadium won't be a bird death trap. But yet they can still build it and have it up for the Vikings after next season. Fingers crossed.
You want a really funny side story about a bird that I can tell super quick?
I love super quick. Let's do it.
Okay, we're gonna get the PETA folks after us by the time I'm done with this one.
Oh no.
I had a sparrow that flew into my work, and it was like flying around, like dive bombing customers, couldn't get out the door, and I was doing this for like 3 hours straight, and I had enough of it, so I took a broom, and I told one of my employees, like, okay, hold the door open, I'm gonna try to shoo it out next time it comes around, and like I missed it, and so I'm like, screw it, this time I'm going for the bird, so like I swung the broom like a ball bat, and I am not like athletic or coordinated at all, and I hit that poor bird
Oh no.
head first with like the plastic piece that holds the bristles on, and that thing just thudded against it, and it flew probably like it arced and flew like 8 feet and just hit the floor and just that was it. No more sparrow.
And then you brought him outside and he flew away, right?
Yes, he flew away and lived happily ever after.
There we go. That's the ending we want.
Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater actually broke a little bit of silence. He was talking on Twitter about his former Louisville wide receiver, Devontae Parker. He said it would be amazing to reunite with that guy, knowing what he's capable of. Well, currently, Mel Kiper Jr. of ESPN, he's a notable draft guru. I like the word guru. And he currently has the Vikings choosing Parker with the number 11 pick in the 2015 NFL Draft.
I thought you were going to talk about Teddy's tweet that he sent out where he was talking about staying in Radisson hotels. Did you see that one?
No.
Jesus. It was like the most sponsored thing I've ever seen. He tweeted out something about, oh, if you're ever on the move, make sure you call the fine folks at Radisson.
That's great.
I'm like, wow, our young quarterback is growing before our eyes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know who won't be growing offensively is the Oakland Raiders.
Oh, Bill Musgrave, poor.
They have signed former Minnesota Vikings offensive coordinator and Eagles quarterback coach Bill Musgrave as their new offensive coordinator under Jack Del Rio.
Poor Eagles fan or Raiders fans. They've been through so much, and they get Jack Del Rio, who is a guy I believe can lead them in towards good places.
I'm not as confident as you were there.
I am. But Bill Musgrave, man. Billy Musgrave in the play card. The card is going to be back.
The card.
Oh. Bubble screen. Third and long, bubble screen.
I have friends that are Raiders fans, and I absolutely feel bad for them because they've been nailing some drafts. They've been getting some solid talent. And then they go and bring in these just absolute two failures of coaches as head coaches and offensive coordinator. I don't understand what they're trying to do.
I'm not as hard on the Jack Del Rio thing, but I think for Jack Del Rio to work as a head coach, you would have to have really good coordinators around him, and boy, Bill Musgrave, you know.
Hey, you never know. Maybe he's grown and matured since his time in Minnesota.
Well, you can argue the point for him that you could say that he got the most out of Percy Harvin that any coordinator managed.
It's true.
So maybe Percy will be a Raider.
I'm not about to go that far. But that's all the quick hits I've got. You wanted to add one, I believe, about another coaching change?
Oh, yeah. I just kind of wanted to very briefly make mention of the fact that, Chicago signed John Fox as their head coach, and I think it's always important to, keep an eye on your division rivals, see what they're up to. And I actually think it's a good hire for them. I have a friend who is a really big Chicago Bears fan, and she likes the idea of him coming in and being able to kind of lay down the law and have one voice. She said that, under Mark Trestman, they really didn't feel like they had that one voice that hopefully John Fox can provide to them. And so it makes our division all the tougher, though, for Minnesota.
He goes from Peyton Manning to Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see how he can make up for that on offense. It's going to be a pretty big hill to climb.
Mm-hmm.
But we got a game coming up this weekend. By we, I mean no Vikings.
Former Viking.
That makes me sad. But yes,
Former.
former Viking Chris Carter and former Dallas Cowboy Michael Irvin are the captains for the Pro Bowl teams, and the Pro Bowl will be played this weekend. And I don't know who's excited about it, but it's not me.
I am not excited at all about the Pro Bowl.
Well, at least Chris Carter went forward and drafted himself a pretty good team. His captains are J.J. Watt and Antonio Brown. He's got himself quite a bit of talent. Marcel Darius, Kyle Williams, Dontarie Poe. Got himself probably the best guard in the NFL right now, Zach Martin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got himself one heck of a team. After the first day of draft, day 2 of the draft is when I say draft like it's an important thing. Pro Bowl draft, I'll say. Of the Pro Bowl draft will include the quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. You know, the people that most people care about watching.
It all sounds more interesting on paper than what it actually turns out to be. I feel like we've been saying this since we started the show, is that they just really would be better off doing like a skills competition. I think that would be more interesting to watch than the Pro Bowl.
I do. I love the skills competition.
Me too. I want to see that skills competition come back. Like,
I was watching NFL Network actually, and they were showing some of the old skill competitions, and I had to watch it because I enjoyed it. I really did.
It's bad when the Pro Bowl game itself is so terrible that you would rather watch Peyton Manning throw through a friggin' tire.
But then again, I'm the guy that watches NBA All-Star Weekend for the three-point shootout, so what do I know?
Hey, the NBA dunk competition is always fun. Right?
Yeah, I've always been a three-point guy. I don't know why. That's what I've always enjoyed more. But in case you're interested, the Pro Bowl is on January 25th. That's Sunday. So clear your calendars and invite your friends over. It's Pro Bowl time.
No.
Meanwhile, over on Facebook, we had a pretty nice discussion going. We were talking about whether or not offensive linemen can be considered playmakers in today's NFL. A lot of the emphasis these days is placed on quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, the guys that end up getting the football in the end zone. Well, recently we've seen a bit of a resurgence in touchdowns by bigger men.
Mm-hmm.
We saw some play action and special teams this weekend. We saw 2 big men actually score touchdowns in conference championship games. So, what do you think, Kyle? Are offensive linemen, should they be considered playmakers?
Yes, most definitely yes. Come on, guys. We know this in Minnesota, what bad play up line on your line can do for your team, watching guys that suck up there. It's like you get a good center or a good left tackle, and you watch them, and it's tough to watch them during like the games, but you go back and watch them and watch some of those blocks that they can do out there. Like, it's a thing of beauty to watch a good left tackle go out there and make a good block and just pancake a guy and throw him down and have that be the hole that opens up for your running back to go through. Like, that is those 2 things go hand in hand. So yeah, of course they can make plays.
According to the Facebook page, doesn't sound like they're as much love for the big men as we have.
Oh.
Luke Larson says, no, I can't call a player who doesn't touch the ball post-snap 97% of the plays a playmaker.
Okay, but your center touches the ball every single snap. So do you consider him a playmaker?
That's why he said post-snap.
Yeah.
Then we got some people with different opinions. We've got Stephen Bjorn. He says, great quarterbacks don't need a great O-line to win games. They need them to win a Super Bowl. Now, it's a little early to be talking Super Bowl for the Minnesota Vikings, but when we're talking about an offensive line, we are talking about essential pieces, especially when you have a young quarterback that's developing. We saw what happened when David Carr was down with the Texans, and he had an offensive line that just got him murdered. He had no chance to develop to the NFL level, and even if he could have been successful there, the team gave him no shot.
I mean, you can go back even further, Adam. Tim Couch.
Yeah.
Tim Couch could have maybe been halfway decent, but Jesus, he was on an awful, awful team where that Browns team, he just got destroyed every single time. So yeah, I understand it's not like the lines that Tom Brady or Peyton Manning have been nothing but Pro Bowl players every single time. But you look at them and you go, okay, well, they were smart enough to sign Matt Burke, who was a Pro Bowl high caliber player there in New England. Or they had Nate Soldier, who was a good Pro Bowl player that they have out there. And I don't remember some of the other guys they had, but it's like they've had good pieces on that line consistently around those quarterbacks.
They sure have. Mm-hmm. But my favorite response from Facebook came from Jeff Heller. This is kind of a long one, so bear with me here. Pulling guards, tackles making downfield blocks on screens. If an O-linesman can't block, we'll crucify him. But when he's making those crucial blocks, he's suddenly no longer a playmaker. A lot of plays made in the running game today, with the multitude of finesse players at the position, are made solely because of the O-line, play call, and situation. Though the latter has always been known to emphasize a player's skills or expose them, any player at any position can be a playmaker at any time.
Yeah, who is this guy? Send this guy a free t-shirt or a jersey. He's right.
Great response, Jeff. I love it.
Fantastic response. Very well put. I agree with...
While we're at it, let's talk about the two teams in the Super Bowl right now. Okay. Because we had the gentleman, Stephen Bjoin, talk about great quarterbacks needing a great O-line to win the Super Bowl. There are currently 0 active players on the rosters from the Seattle Seahawks or the New England Patriots that were number 1 picks as wide receivers.
Thank you.
0. Now, you can argue that Paul Richardson on the Seahawks was a first-round pick, but he is currently on IR, and he's usually designated to be a return man. So right now, I'm not really including him. Mm-hmm. First-round draft picks that were offensive linemen, 3, and 2 of them play for Seattle.
I was talking with someone about this when they said that over Twitter and talking about how I want the Vikings to go O-line in the draft, and he was saying how, well, you don't need to draft an O-lineman, you can pick one up in free agency.
Right.
It's like, well, no, you can't, because any good offensive lineman that's really worth a shit doesn't really hit free agency. Like, remember the last time the Vikings tried to pick up a left tackle in free agency? We got Charlie Johnson. Now, he's parlayed this into a bit of a longer career with the Vikings than what I thought he would have.
Because he moved into guard.
He moved into guard. And I know people are, myself, yourself included, we're really hard on Matt Khalil. But I would still rather draft Matt Khalil and work with him and try to coach whatever's going on with him out of him and take that opportunity because, guys, you don't like to hear it, but wide receivers grow on trees. How many times has there been a 7th round wide receiver that you've never heard of that's all of a sudden out there on the field and he's lighting it up and he's going to Pro Bowls? That happens. How often do you hear a 7th round offensive lineman that steps in that's all of a sudden doing really good? You don't. That really doesn't happen. If you want good linemen, you draft them early and then you lock them up and you keep them under contract.
But you are totally right. Good offensive linemen, they just don't get let go in free agency unless there's some kind of serious cap problem.
Yep.
And then, even then, you get into a bidding war, a huge bidding war for those gentlemen. And that's when you end up with problems like some teams had. I believe the Dolphins got in a bidding war for a guard this offseason, and they were putting offers of $8 to $9 million a year on the table for a guard.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost top wide receiver money right there.
Yeah.
For a guy that isn't a playmaker.
Yep. We love our linemen here at the show. Like, you don't get this from a lot of other Viking sources, but me and Adam both, like, we both believe in building up that line, and then good things happen from that point forward.
I love the idea of bringing in competition for Matt Khalil, whether it's through a mid to late round draft pick or through free agency.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I am all for bringing in a, I don't want to say replacement, but some at least high level of competition for that left guard job, because I do feel that Charlie Johnson is missing a step, and his subpar play at times is really hurting Matt Khalil, who was struggled with confidence. And I think if you could get someone a little more stable next to him, you could have that entire line going at just an amazing rate.
Mm-hmm. And I understand when people are saying about how, great players can make up for bad line play, because look at what Adrian Peterson was able to do underneath lines that weren't so good. Like, your good players cover for problems on the teams. Like, we understand that as well, too.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's nice for some players that need the help to have it.
Yeah.
Would Andy Dalton be as good without A.J. Green? Absolutely not. Would Matthew Stafford be as popular as he is without Calvin Johnson? No way. But people forget that sometimes the more established quarterbacks, like each of those quarterbacks that are entering their 5th year next season, these young quarterbacks, they need a little more time, a little more help. I love Teddy Bridgewater. I do. He has excellent pocket awareness. But you have to give him as many tools as you can to succeed. And in the meantime, you have to kind of flip it over and say, okay, we can't focus too much on providing this guy with one pieces. We can't ignore the defense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's going to be so interesting to see the free agency and draft situation, what this team deems as their biggest needs, because right now the fans are saying, oh, we need a running back. Oh, we need a wide receiver. And I'm sitting here saying, oh, let's get a safety. Let's get a guard. Let's get a linebacker. And my ideas are not very popular online.
And maybe someone recorded this segment, and when we're wrong in draft time, you play it back for us. But I believe guard, safety, linebacker, and cornerback. I think those are the 4 spots that the Vikings are going to prioritize. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what order, because I am not smart enough to be Rick Spielman and figure out.
Another big physical corner would be amazing.
I guarantee you, based on the comments that Mike Zimmer has said, that you can't coach height. Okay, guys, if there's ever been a comment to read between the lines, start reading with that one. Like, he's going to get another big physical tall corner to pair up with Xavier Rhodes. He's going to do
Absolutely.
it. It's going to happen.
And they even went on record as saying when they picked up Captain Munnerlyn, they wanted him for nickel situations.
Yep.
So, to say that this season says a lot for what the plan of this team is and where they want to go in the future. Mm-hmm. So, I know that you guys all probably, I don't need to say my opinion on whether or not I think offensive linemen are playmakers. And I'm biased since I used to play offensive line in high school. I understand that. Never quite got to that college level. I sucked. But hey, what can you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Offensive linemen, I feel, are criminally underrated, especially the interior offensive linemen. I know left tackles, right tackles, sometimes they get their praise. Those guys on the inside, man, for what they have to do in the trenches, the beatings that they take at the hands of some of those defensive tackles and blitzers, they earn their money.
That's for sure. You will be pleased to know that I just ordered a Matt Burke autograph, 8x10, online.
There you go.
So there you go, Adam.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I like it. And that's all I have for this week, unless you wanted to touch on a couple things.
Just really quick, because I got the thought in my head because we were talking about draft and positions of need. A lot of people, like you said, are talking about wide receiver and running back. And I don't believe that the team is going to address either of those in this year's draft, unless they reach the point where you have someone so high on your draft board versus where you're actually at in the draft that it's such a value pick, you got to go for it. And that is with not knowing whether or not Adrian Peterson is going to be back.
Right, we will know more about that before the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I believe April 15th is the deadline that Roger Goodell has to make a decision on whether or not to lift him off the exempt commissioner's permission list. So we will know more by then.
But
Until then, we're kind of in limbo about what's going on
Mhm.
at that running back position.
even if you were to say Adrian is not coming back to this team, I believe that with Jerick McKinnon and Matt Asiata and Joe Banyard and whoever else they can pick up and bring in free agency, undrafted, whatever, they'll be fine. Like they'll get it done because don't undersell Jerick McKinnon one bit.
Right. Yeah, it's all going to come down to best player available at the time.
Mhm.
If the best player on the chart there is a wide receiver that hasn't been picked, he'll take that. If it's a corner, it's going to be that. And we know that because the Vikings aren't a dumb drafting team. They're not going to reach like they have in the past. They've gotten burnt too many times.
Mhm.
Rick Spielman has really started to get this whole draft process down. The only real question is, will the Vikings end up with 2 first-rounders again? That's going to be a little hard at number 11, though.
I was just thinking that. I was just wondering, who is Rick going to go after to trade back into the first round for? Like, if it doesn't happen at this point, I'm almost going to be disappointed. Right?
Things have just worked out too well the past couple of years.
It's been so much fun fleecing the Browns for extra draft picks and trading back up into the first round.
That last-minute trade with the Seahawks there for that final pick in the first round last year.
And it brought us...
I can't just express how excited I was.
Oh,
because I knew what was going on.
Our Lord and Savior, Teddy Bridgewater. Is it too early to say that?
It's too early for that, yeah.
I don't know.
But he's wearing that number 5. He's going to remind everyone of Donovan McNabb.
Oh, Jesus. McNabulous. You had to go with the McNabb.
It's like people said. People can't wear number 7 anymore because it'll remind people of T-Jack or Christian Ponder. Well, it could be possible 2-time Super Bowl champion T-Jack, so
Ugh.
remember that.
Well...
And he nailed that coin flip for anyone giving him crap.
You know what's so funny? I don't even want to... Probably shouldn't even go there, but I think the reason why they send him out during coin flips like that, and this is... I'm totally going to sound like I'm knocking the guy. I don't mean to, but... Out of everyone, he's probably the least important guy in that situation that they could send out because Russell Wilson and everyone else, I'm sure Pete Carroll's talking to him and getting him hyped up about what they're going to do, their game plan, and their scheming. So we can send Tavares out for the coin flip because he's not important in this situation.
Oh, my.
Poor guy. He's a good guy. He really is.
Oh. Poor T-Jack. Just end the show ripping on him.
Yeah,
but hey, I guess if you can rip on a potential 2-time Super Bowl champion, I guess why not? Hey, speaking of potential Super Bowl champions, we might as well touch on the last thing that I want to talk
Kevin Williams. Yeah.
Kevin Williams getting a shot at a Super Bowl ring at the Super Bowl.
There's your reason.
But we'll do a lot more Super Bowl preview stuff next week. I will talk to some of the former hosts that we've had on the show as guests, get some of their predictions as far as final scores and what they think will happen. It should be fun. And then after that, we can start just shifting over to the off season. We can start comparing this season to last season.
Lots of draft talk.
Yeah, lots of draft and free agency talk.
Love our draft talk.
Should be a lot of fun. So on that note, that's all I got.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Head on over to the Facebook page, Purple People Podcast, on there. And Twitter, @PurplePeoplePod. That's where you can talk to Kyle West.
You betcha.
And remember to stay classy, Minnesota.